The jolt is violent. 1 second, darkness, the next, sunlight, familiar yellow-flowered curtains, the ones I picked out when I was 12, greet my bewildered eyes. My heart hammers against my ribs, a frantic bird trapped in a cage. I'm I'm in my childhood bedroom. I'm 16. Again. The realization crashes over me with the force of a physical blow. This is it. The day. The day it all started to unravel. The day my future was stolen from me with smiles and carefully chosen words. 3 years ago, or from another perspective, just yesterday. A bitter, acrid smell drifts up the stairs. Mom's burnt coffee, a smell I'd perversely started to miss in the sterile, lonely apartment I'd died in. And then, through the thin walls, I hear it. Riley's fake sobbing. A choked, theatrical sound that, the first time around, had twisted my gut with misplaced sympathy. Now, it's just a soundtrack to the beginning of my end. That performance, that Oscar-worthy display of feigned fragility, is what convinced everyone, Mom, Dad, even me, idiot me, that I was the one who had to sacrifice everything. My MIT acceptance, my dreams, my life, all to care for Grandma. My feet hit the worn carpet, and a tremor runs through me. It's not fear, not entirely, it's something else. A cold, hard understanding. I know how this plays out. I know every line, every sigh, every manipulative glance. And I know where it leads. Downstairs, the scene is exactly as I remember. Mom, her face a mask of strained concern, wringing her hands. Dad, looking suitably grave, pacing the small living room. And Riley, my younger sister, draped artfully on the sofa, dabbing at dry eyes with a crumpled tissue. "Zoe, darling, come sit," Mom says, her voice dripping with a sweetness that now makes my teeth ache. I sit. I watch. It's like viewing a play for the second time, but this time, I'm not just an actor. I'm the critic, the historian, the ghost at the feast. They deliver the same guilt-laden speech. "Family duty, Zoe. Grandma needs us." Riley, well, you know how sensitive Riley is. Her breakdown? She's just too fragile for this kind of responsibility. Breakdown, I almost snort. I now know that breakdown was a conveniently timed, entirely fabricated drama to avoid any and all responsibility. I observe Riley's micro-expressions, the flicker of triumph in her eyes when she thinks no one is looking, the calculated tremor in her voice. I remember how this exact conversation, these exact words, led to 3 years of unrelenting exhaustion. 3 years of juggling Grandma's increasingly complex medical needs, the mounting bills, the sleepless nights, the isolation. 3 years that culminated in my own heart giving out at 19, stressed and broken, in a sterile hospital room. And of course, Mom adds, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, Grandma's estate, it's substantial. We have to ensure she's well cared for, that her wishes are respected. The words trigger a flash so vivid it steals my breath. I'm back in Grandma's dimly lit room, the smell of antiseptic and old roses clinging to the air. I'm collapsing. A searing pain in my chest, the world tilting and fading, and then Riley. Riley, appearing as if by magic, her face a perfect mask of sorrow, just in time to play the devoted granddaughter for the lawyer, for the will reading. A Riley, inheriting everything. While I, Zoe, the dutiful sacrificial lamb, was destined for a pauper's grave, paid for by the indifferent state. The rage is a living thing inside me, hot and sharp. But I leash it. This time will be different. When they finish their emotional onslaught, their voices laced with the expectation of my tearful, immediate agreement, just like before. I don't cry. I don't offer hollow words of comfort or promise to do my best. Instead, I look at them, my gaze steady, and I say, "This is a lot to take in. I need some time to think about it. Can I give you an answer in, say, 24 hours?" The words hang in the air, heavy and unexpected. Mom's smile falters. Dad stops pacing, and across the room, I see it. A flicker of genuine confusion, maybe even alarm in Riley's carefully constructed facade. It's a small thing, a tiny crack in their perfectly orchestrated plan. But it's a start. The game, I realize with a chilling certainty, has just begun. And this time, I know the rules, I know the players, and I know how to win. My thinking day is less about thinking and more about observing, studying the enemy, as it were. Riley. I shadow her, a ghost in my own home, and the details I missed the first time around, blinded by naivety and stress, now scream at me. Her closet, for instance. Tucked away behind the saccharine pink dresses she wears to maintain her innocent image, are designer labels. Clothes I know for a fact were purchased with money she'd wheedled out of mom and dad, claiming unexpected medical expenses for her myriad of phantom illnesses. I remember those expenses, how they always seem to coincide with a new fashion season. Then there's the boyfriend, Michael. He's not so mysterious this time. I recall his name, his face, from fleeting glimpses in my past life. He was the one Riley was always studying with, the reason for her late nights. Now, watching her sneak out the back door, her face alight with a conspiratorial grin, I feel nothing but a cold contempt. She's not fragile. She's a predator in pastel clothing. But the real prize, the smoking gun, is the letter, tucked under her mattress in a place she clearly thought no one would ever look. An acceptance letter. Not to the local community college she'd tearfully claimed was her only option due to her delicate health, but to Stanford. Stanford Business School. The date on it is from 2 weeks ago. She was planning to defer, of course. Defer until after Grandma's death, after the inheritance was safely in her grasp. The sheer audacity of it almost makes me laugh. Dinner that evening is another performance. I deliver my lines with Emmy-worthy conviction. Tears well in my eyes, easily summoned by the memory of my own funeral, as I talk about doing right by family, about Grandma's needs coming first. I can practically feel Riley's triumphant smirk burning into my back. Let her smirk. I'm busy cataloging. In my mind, I'm walking through Grandma's small, cluttered bedroom, picturing the old wooden safe hidden behind a loose floorboard under her bed. I remember, with a clarity that surprises me, the feel of the cold metal, the click of the combination lock. I'd found it in my previous life, a desperate last-ditch attempt to find something, anything, to help with the medical bills. Inside, I know, are not just a few sentimental trinkets, but legal documents. Old stock certificates, property deeds, bank statements. Grandma was more astute than any of us gave her credit for. The next few days, I begin to plant my seeds, small, seemingly innocuous comments. "Grandma," I say one afternoon while helping her with her knitting, "I was just thinking how incredibly proud you must be of Riley. She's so bright, always has her head in a book. Such academic achievements." I see this subtle tightening of Grandma's lips. In my past life, it took me years to understand that her quietness around Riley wasn't approval, but a deep, unspoken resentment for Riley's constant absences, her thinly veiled excuses. Grandma, a woman who'd clawed her way out of poverty through sheer grit and a night school education, valued learning and effort above all else. Riley's feigned illnesses and dramatic pronouncements of being too overwhelmed to visit for more than a carefully curated hour or two had not gone unnoticed. I also start accidentally leaving old photo albums open around the living room. Pictures of me at science fairs, my face alight with nerdy enthusiasm. Me holding up an academic decathlon trophy, beaming. Me helping Grandma plant roses in her garden, mud-streaked and happy. Subtle reminders of the granddaughter who was always there, not just when an audience was required. The digital trail is the easiest part. My past life knowledge of how technology would evolve, how social media would become a public diary for the foolish, gives me an almost unfair advantage. Riley, in her arrogance, believes her online persona is invisible to her old-fashioned family. I find her secret accounts with ease, the ones where she's not Riley, the devoted granddaughter, but Riles_Stanford bound, bragging to her equally shallow college friends about playing the family game, about how her boring old grandma is her ticket to early retirement. Screenshots. I save everything meticulously to an encrypted drive. The fake medical records she'd used to get out of gym class for 3 years? Scanned. The discrepancies in the expense reports she'd submitted to Mom for Grandma's special dietary needs, which mostly consisted of gourmet chocolates and expensive takeout for herself and Michael. Documented. The first real test comes sooner than I expect. Riley announces a surprise weekend visit. Her timing, as always, is impeccable. Grandma's monthly Social Security check has just arrived. And right on cue, Riley's mysterious stomach ailment, the one that always seems to flare up when cash is readily available, makes a dramatic reappearance. She stumbles through the door, clutching her abdomen, her face pale. Thanks to some cleverly applied makeup, I suspect. "Oh, Zoe, it's awful," she moans, collapsing onto the sofa. "The doctor said it might be serious this time. More tests." I watch her perform, a connoisseur of her particular brand of bullshit. The slight tremor in her hand as she reaches for a glass of water. The way her eyes flick towards Grandma's purse, sitting on the hall table. "That's terrible, Riley," I say, my voice filled with concern I don't feel. "We need to get you the best care." But this time, things are different. The emergency cash Grandma always kept in the ceramic cookie jar on the kitchen counter? It's not there. I'd moved it the day before to a new, far more secure hiding spot. A small change, yes, but the game is made of small changes. And I can see in the slight narrowing of Riley's eyes as Mom fusses over her that she's noticed. The first little snag in her well-rehearsed con. The $5,000 specialist. It's almost comical how closely Riley's script follows the original. A week after her dramatic, cashless weekend visit, the call comes. Riley, her voice weak and breathy, on the phone with Mom. "The local doctors, they just don't know, Mom," she whimpers. "There's this specialist in the city, but he's so expensive. $5,000 just for the consultation." I'm in the kitchen, ostensibly making tea, but my ears are tuned to the unfolding drama in the living room. I remember this moment. This was the catalyst. This $5,000, siphoned from Grandma's already dwindling emergency fund, was the first heavy stone that dragged me under. It forced me to take on a second job, then a third, all while trying to maintain my grades and provide round-the-clock care for Grandma. The exhaustion, it was a slow poison. "Oh, my poor baby," Mom coos into the phone. I hear Dad's low murmur, the usual platitudes. "We'll figure something out, sweetie. Don't you worry." I know what figuring something out means. It means a hushed, guilt-laden conversation with Grandma. It means Grandma, bless her trusting heart, handing over her savings, believing it's for her granddaughter's well-being. This time, I play my part differently. When Mom hangs up, her face a mask of anxiety, I'm ready. "That sounds serious, Mom," I say, my voice laced with just the right amount of concern. "Riley needs the best. I can help research specialists. Maybe there are payment plans or charities that could help." I see the relief on Mom's face. Good old Zoe, always practical, always willing to shoulder the burden. Riley, meanwhile, would be preening, imagining her plan unfolding flawlessly. But while I'm publicly the supportive sister privately, I'm setting a different stage. Riley, in her arrogance, is sloppy. She talks to Michael on the phone constantly, her voice carrying easily through the thin walls of our house. I make sure Grandma is in the hallway, looking for her glasses, when Riley's on one particular call. "It's so easy, Mikey," Riley trills, her voice dripping with smug satisfaction. Honestly, milking the old lady for cash is like taking candy from a baby. Another $5,000, and that Prada bag is mine. I see Grandma freeze, just for a second. Then her expression smooths over, and she continues her search for her non-existent glasses. But I know Grandma. I know that look. The seed is not just planted, it's taken root. The next part requires a bit more finesse. Grandma, despite her age, is surprisingly tech-savvy. After a minor break-in a few years back, which I now suspect Riley might have orchestrated to make Grandma feel more vulnerable, Dad had installed a simple security system, including a couple of discrete cameras in the main living areas. Grandma had insisted on learning how to use it, to keep an eye on things. She mostly used it to watch for the mailman, but the footage was stored. "Grandma," I say casually a few days later, "I was thinking about that little silver locket you used to wear, the one with the tiny bird on it. I haven't seen it in ages." It's a gamble. I'm banking on Grandma's meticulous nature, her attachment to her few precious belongings. "The locket?" Her brow furrows. Oh, yes. I put it away for safekeeping, in my jewelry box. You know, I continue, feigning innocence, Riley was saying how much she admired your jewelry when she was here last. She even offered to help you organize it, remember? Grandma is silent for a long moment. Then, without a word, she gets up and heads to her small study where the security monitor is. I give her an hour. When I happen to walk by, I see her rewinding footage. Her face is grim. The camera angle is perfect. Riley, during her last ailing visit, caught red-handed. Not just admiring the jewelry, but slipping the locket and a pair of pearl earrings I remember Grandma cherishing into her pocket. For safekeeping, no doubt. The family dinner is set. Riley arrives, expecting a fawning welcome and a fat check. She's even managed to conjure a slight limp for added pathos. Mom and Dad are hovering, ready to cater to her every whim. But Grandma is a different woman tonight. She's calm, composed, a steely glint in her eyes I haven't seen in years. After the plates are cleared, just as Riley is about to launch into her well-rehearsed speech about her debilitating and entirely fictional medical condition, Grandma clears her throat. Riley, dear, she says, her voice surprisingly strong, before we discuss your health concerns, there's something I'd like to show everyone. She produces a small stack of printed papers, screenshots. Riley's face beaming, holding up a newly purchased designer handbag, the caption reading, Retail therapy for my chronic suffering. LOL, thanks, fam. Another, a selfie with Michael, captioned, Playing nurse to the old bat is exhausting, but the payout will be worth it. #inheritance goals. Riley's face drains of color. Grandma, I can explain. Oh, I'm sure you can, dear, Grandma says, her voice like ice. Perhaps you can also explain this. She gestures to the small television in the corner, and the security footage plays. Riley, furtive and guilty, pocketing the locket and earrings. The silence in the room is absolute, broken only by Riley's choked gasp. Those were family heirlooms, Riley, Grandma says, her voice trembling now, not with weakness, but with a deep, sorrowful anger. Given to me by my own mother. You didn't just steal from me. You stole memories. Riley's desperate attempts to explain, to lie, to cry are cut short. Grandma holds up a hand. I've already spoken to my lawyer, Mr. Henderson, she announces, her gaze sweeping over Mom and Dad, who look utterly poleaxed. He'll be here in the morning. I'm changing my will. Riley, you will no longer be a beneficiary. The words hit Riley like a physical blow. Her carefully constructed facade shatters, and the real Riley emerges, grasping, furious, terrified. You can't do this, she screams, her voice raw. Zoe put you up to this. She's always been jealous of me. I say nothing. I just watch. Mom and Dad are scrambling, trying to mediate, to smooth things over, their own potential inheritance flashing before their eyes. But Grandma is resolute. Her decision is final. She's seen through the performance. There's no going back. Riley's world is collapsing, and for the first time in what feels like an eternity, or perhaps 2 lifetimes, a sliver of something cold and satisfying unfurls within me. This is just the beginning. Riley doesn't take disinheritance well. Who would? Her retaliation is swift and predictable. The whispers start almost immediately. Zoe's not well. She's been under so much stress. She's poisoning Grandma's mind against us. She enlists Mom and Dad, who are now panicking about their own standing in Grandma's eyes and will. They're suddenly very concerned about my mental stability. There are hushed phone calls to doctors, talk of evaluations. It's the same tactic they almost succeeded with in my previous life, painting me as overwhelmed and hysterical, unfit to manage Grandma's care or her affairs. They'd nearly convinced social services to intervene to place Grandma in a state-run facility, and me, well, who knows where I would have ended up. But this Zoe isn't the naive, exhausted girl from before. This Zoe has Grandma's security system on her side, and Riley, in her desperation, gets sloppy. Very sloppy. I have footage. Crystal clear footage of Riley sneaking into Grandma's bathroom in the middle of the night, her face illuminated by the dim nightlight. She's not there to offer comfort or check on her ailing grandmother. She's there to steal. Specifically, Grandma's prescription painkillers. Her plan, I surmise, is to plant them in my room, a tidy little package of proof that I'm a drug abusing, unstable caregiver. The plan spectacularly fails. Grandma, a surprisingly light sleeper, hears her fumbling with the pill bottles. The confrontation is quiet but devastating. Riley, caught red handed, with a handful of Oxycontin, has no excuse, no lie plausible enough to cover this. Grandma doesn't even raise her voice. She just looks at Riley with a profound, weary disappointment that's far more damning than any shout. The next morning, when Mom and Dad try to ambush me with a concerned family meeting about my erratic behavior, I'm ready. Erratic? I ask, my voice calm. Or perhaps you mean no longer willing to be your doormat? Before they can launch into their rehearsed script, I play my own trump card. Actually, I've been meaning to tell you, I say, pulling a sheaf of papers from my bag. I've been a little busy lately. I lay them on the coffee table. Transcripts from online college courses, all A's. A letter confirming my deferred enrollment at MIT is still active and in good standing. And the pièce de résistance, a contract for a remote tech internship I'd secured just last week. An internship that, thanks to my advanced, read future knowledge of coding languages, pays more than Mom and Dad's combined part-time jobs. The narrative of Zoe, the sacrificial daughter with no other options, shatters. I see it in their stunned faces. Riley, who had been lurking in the hallway, hoping to witness my downfall, looks like she's seen a ghost. But how? Mom stammers. I'm resourceful, I say simply, and I'm not stupid, unlike some people. My gaze flicks to Riley, who flinches. The alliance, the one Riley had so carefully cultivated against me, fractures. The pressure is too much. Mom and Dad, seeing their own potential inheritance from Grandma, and now perhaps from their surprisingly successful daughter, jeopardized by Riley's increasingly reckless actions, begin to turn on her. Riley, what have you done? Dad demands, his voice tight with anger. Stealing medication? Spreading lies? Do you have any idea how this makes us look? But Zoe, Riley stammers, looking for support that isn't there. It's a beautiful, terrible thing to watch. The exact same family division, the same accusations and recriminations. But this time, Riley is the one in the eye of the storm. The one being isolated, condemned. I watch her world collapse, and a strange mix of emotions washes over me. There's a cold, hard satisfaction, yes. The taste of justice, long overdue. But there's also an unexpected pang of sadness. This is my family, after all, or at least they were. The family I thought I knew. But that Zoe, the one who would have grieved this implosion, is gone. She died in that hospital room, alone and betrayed. The Zoe that stands here now is a survivor. And she resolves, with a certainty that chills her own blood, that this version of justice, however brutal, is infinitely better than the slow, agonizing death she endured before. This is not just survival, this is a reckoning. Riley's final, desperate attempt to salvage something from the wreckage of her own making comes during what can only be described as an intervention. Grandma, now fully aware of the extent of Riley's deceptions, has summoned Mr. Henderson, her lawyer, for an official meeting. Mom and Dad are there, looking pale and anxious. Riley is a wreck, her usual carefully applied makeup streaked with genuine tears this time. I am, of course, present, a silent observer to the drama I've helped orchestrate. Grandma is being manipulated, Riley cries, her voice cracking. She points a trembling finger at me. Zoe has brainwashed her. She's after your money, Grandma, can't you see? It's a bold move accusing me of her own tactics, but I'm ready. Mr. Henderson clears his throat. Actually, Miss Peterson, he says, his voice dry, we've been reviewing your grandmother's financial portfolio, and it seems Zoe has been doing quite the opposite of being after her money. He slides a folder across the polished mahogany table. Inside, neatly organized, are statements, charts, graphs, proof. For the past year, I explain calmly, I've been managing Grandma's investments, using some insights I've gained into market trends. Past life knowledge is a hell of an insight. I remembered the obscure tech startup that went supernova, The cryptocurrency boom, the real estate bubble. Small strategic investments, carefully managed, had turned Grandma's modest estate, the one Riley had been so eager to get her hands on, into a multi-million-dollar portfolio. Far, far beyond anything Riley, or even Mom and Dad, had ever imagined. The silence in the room is thick enough to cut with a knife. Riley's jaw is slack. Mom and Dad look like they might faint. But I'm not done. And speaking of insights, I continue, pulling another document from my bag. This one, a letter on MIT letterhead. It seems my deferred enrollment is also in excellent standing. In fact, I allow myself a small, cool smile. I've been completing coursework rather ahead of schedule. I slide another set of papers across the table. Offers. 3 of them. From major tech companies. They're not interested in Zoe Peterson, the 16-year-old high school student. They're interested in the anonymous coder who developed a revolutionary algorithm, one that could predict viral content trends with uncanny accuracy. An algorithm I'd built using my past life experiences, my knowledge of what was to come. An algorithm that was already making waves in Silicon Valley. Riley is staring at me, her eyes wide with a dawning, horrified understanding. The power shift is palpable, a tangible force in the room. The final twist, however, doesn't come from me. It comes from Grandma. She reaches out and takes my hand, her grip surprisingly strong. "Mr. Henderson," she says, her voice clear and firm, "there's one more thing. Riley is correct in one aspect. I have been manipulated for years by her." She looks directly at Riley, her gaze unwavering. "I'm not a fool, Riley. I saw your greed. I saw your laziness. I saw how you treated Zoe, how you treated this family. And Zoe has been my rock. She sacrificed everything for me without a word of complaint." Grandma turns to Mr. Henderson. "For the past 6 months, Zoe and I have been working together, documenting everything. Riley's lies, her thefts, her attempts to discredit Zoe. We have an airtight legal case, Mr. Henderson. One that not only protects my current assets, but ensures that my previous will, the one that named Riley as a primary beneficiary, is null and void due to undue influence and elder abuse." The room spins. Even I hadn't known the full extent of Grandma's quiet maneuvering. She'd been playing her own game all along. Riley finally understands. It's not just about the lost inheritance anymore, as substantial as that now is. It's about the complete and utter demolition of her entire life plan. She sees that I haven't just reacted to her schemes. I've been orchestrating her downfall from the very beginning, using her own greed, her own assumptions, her own cruelty, as weapons against her. And while she was busy plotting to secure a modest inheritance, I was building an empire. An empire that makes Grandma's millions look like pocket change. The game isn't just over. It's a checkmate she never saw coming. The desperate plea. It's almost pathetic to watch. Riley, stripped of her power, her illusions, finally sees the abyss yawning before her. The tears are real now, streaming down her blotchy face. The carefully constructed victimhood is replaced by a raw, animal panic. "Zoe, please," she whimpers, actually reaching for my hand. I instinctively pull away. "We're sisters, family. Remember all the good times? Remember how we used to play dress-up in Mom's clothes? You can't do this to me." The manipulation tactics are so ingrained she doesn't even realize how transparent they are. Tears, nostalgia, the appeal to a loyalty she herself never possessed. These are the same emotional weapons that trapped me in my previous life, the ones that guilted me into sacrificing my dreams, my health, my very existence. "I remember, Riley," I say, my voice devoid of the emotion she's trying to evoke. "I remember everything." And then I tell her. Not in anger, not with raised voice, but with a chilling calm that seems to unnerve her more than any outburst would. I recount every betrayal, every stolen opportunity. I describe the crushing weight of her expectations, the constant emotional blackmail. I detail the nights I spent by Grandma's bedside, while Riley was out partying with Michael, spending money that should have gone to Grandma's care. And I remember dying, Riley. I say, my voice dropping to a near whisper. I remember the pain in my chest, the fear, the loneliness. I remember knowing, in that last awful moment, that my life had been stolen from me. By you. She recoils, her face paling. That's impossible. You're crazy. You're making it up. She looks wildly at Mom and Dad, seeking validation, but they are silent, their faces etched with a dawning horror as they begin to understand the true depth of the chasm between their daughters. Riley refuses to acknowledge it, to see the devastation she wrought. It's easier to call me crazy than to face her own monstrosity. Am I, Riley? I meet her gaze. Or is it simply a truth too ugly for you to bear? She tries a different tack, the negotiator, the bargainer. Okay, she says, her voice wheedling. So maybe I made some mistakes. I was young. I didn't understand. But we can fix this, Zoe. You and me. We can talk to Grandma, tell her it was all a misunderstanding. If you vouch for me, help me get back in the will. I'll split it with you. 50-50. Everything. What do you say? There it is. The final desperate offer. An attempt to buy her way back into a life she so carelessly destroyed. The same life she inherited fully in another timeline, while I lay in an unmarked grave. I look at her, at the greed still glittering in her tear-filled eyes, at the complete lack of genuine remorse. And the answer is simple. Devastatingly simple. No. The word is quiet, but it echoes in the silent room. No, Riley, I repeat, a little louder this time. You chose your path a long time ago. You chose it when you faked your first illness to get out of chores. You chose it when you stole from Grandma. You chose it every single time you prioritized your selfish desires over the needs of your family, over common decency. You had every chance to be a sister, to be a granddaughter, to be a decent human being. You chose cruelty. You chose manipulation. And now you must live with the consequences. The finality in my voice seems to crush the last vestiges of hope within her. Mr. Henderson shuffles his papers, a signal that the meeting and Riley's future as she knew it is over. The fallout is swift. Grandma, true to her word, finalizes the changes to her will. Riley is officially, irrevocably disinherited, but it doesn't stop there. Grandma, in a move that surprises even me with its thoroughness, decides to share the documented evidence of Riley's deceptions, the screenshots, the security footage, the sworn affidavits from home healthcare nurses Riley had bullied, with their extended family and close social circle. Riley's reputation is not just tarnished, it's annihilated. She faces a future she never anticipated. No inheritance to bail her out, no family support system to fall back on. The student loans she'd taken out for Stanford, assuming they'd be a drop in the bucket of her future wealth, now loom like an insurmountable mountain. Her friends, the ones she'd bragged to about her cunning plans, scattered like rats from a sinking ship. Mom and Dad, forced to confront their own complicity, their own enabling of Riley's destructive behavior, their own willingness to sacrifice one daughter for the perceived benefit of the other, are left reeling. They try, of course. Desperate appeals for my forgiveness, for my understanding. Awkward, stilted conversations where they attempt to rewrite history, to paint themselves as victims of Riley's manipulations too. We just didn't see it, Zoe. We only wanted what was best for both of you. Their words are hollow, empty. I listen, but I don't engage. I don't offer absolution. I don't offer comfort. I've moved beyond needing their approval, their validation. Their reckoning is their own to bear. I have my own future to build, a future free from their toxic orbit. The justice I sought wasn't just about punishing Riley. It was about liberating myself. And in that, I have unequivocally succeeded. 6 months. It feels like a lifetime, yet also like the blink of an eye. I'm sitting in my MIT dorm room, the Charles River, a shimmering ribbon outside my window. The room is small, cluttered with textbooks and circuit boards, but it's mine. A world away from the suffocating atmosphere of my childhood home. On my laptop screen, Grandma smiles, her face animated. She's in her new apartment at a high-end assisted living facility. More like a luxury resort, really. a place my fledgling tech company's early success has more than comfortably paid for. She's thriving, taking art classes, leading a book club, even flirting outrageously with a retired history professor. She's free just like me, free from the weight of family obligation, free from Riley's poison. My algorithm, the one born from a strange fusion of past life trauma and future knowledge, has launched a startup that's attracting serious buzz and even more serious investors. I'm surrounded by people who value my intellect, my drive, my kindness. Genuine friends. People who aren't looking to exploit my compassion, but to celebrate my strengths. It's a novel feeling and a welcome one. News of Riley trickles in occasionally, through reluctant, guilt-ridden phone calls from mom. It's a bleak picture, a series of dead-end jobs, mounting debt, a bitterness that eats at her from the inside out. She still blames everyone but herself. Me, Grandma, Mom and Dad, the universe. Mom and Dad, in turn, are struggling. They're grappling with the bewildering reality of how they managed to lose both their daughters, one to a success they never nurtured, the other to a selfishness they actively encouraged. Their calls are less frequent now. I don't push them away, but I don't invite them in either. There are some bridges that, once burned, can never truly be rebuilt. I watch the sunrise paint the Boston skyline in hues of pink and gold. The weight, the crushing, suffocating weight of my past life, the trauma of betrayal and exhaustion, and a premature, lonely death, it's finally truly lifting. It's not just that I survived. It's that I've become. Become the person I was always meant to be before their expectations, their manipulations, their casual cruelty tried to grind me into dust. There's a folder on my desktop. Evidence. It contains all the meticulous documentation I'd gathered. Riley's social media posts, the financial discrepancies, the security footage. Everything I'd once thought I needed to prove my case, to validate my actions. I drag it to the trash icon, and then I empty the trash. I don't need it anymore. I don't need proof. I don't need validation. My life, my success, my peace, they are their own justification. I open my laptop, a new project file already blinking, waiting. My fingers fly across the keyboard, not with the frantic energy of escape, but with the calm, focused intensity of creation. I'm building, innovating, moving forward. The ghosts of the past are finally quiet, and in their place, there is only the bright, limitless promise of the dawn. I've found my power. I've found my independence. I've found peace.